Hey, welcome to Come Get Your White People, a change agent's guide to anti-oppressive tactics. And I'm your host, Wanda Swan. I'm an anti-oppressive coach and an anti-violence expert who spent the past 15 years dedicated to unraveling white supremacy and anti-blackness. So if it's one thing that I know, is how to have difficult and awkward conversations around these topics. Now, when I'm not doing that, I'm helping folks just like you. People who want to get their white people and become better at framing their own discussions in a way that they can be heard. So, you're here. I'm here. Let me help you get your white people. Come on in. Let's get started. Hey, good people. This is Wanda Swan, and you are back with another special episode of Come Get Your White People. And when I tell y'all the guests I have today, my heart skips a beat. I am so excited to be in this space today with the incomparable Lauren Turner Hines. And I am going to allow space for Lauren to tell the world who she is. And then I'll tell you how I met her. Lauren, how are you?
Oh, I'm so good. Oh my God. I cannot believe I am on Come Get Your White People with Wanda Swan. This is like amazing. Um, I'm good. I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, of course. Tell the people just who you are.
Sure. So I am a Black woman, theater maker, specifically director, producer, operating out of New Orleans, Louisiana. I am the producing artistic director for a theater company called No Dream Deferred. And I'm also the chief artistic director for the Andre Caillou Center for Performing Arts and Cultural Justice. Um, I am a mother, and I would consider myself a community facilitator in the sense that I do facilitate for multiple communities, but
Mm-hmm.
I focus on this concept of co-design and community design in my facilitation.
Y'all, Lauren is so modest. I could have come on this podcast episode today and just been like, ladies and gentlemen, hi. And it would have sufficed. Um, Lauren is a genius. So
No,
I'll start there.
oh please
Mm-mm.
don't, please
You can't tell people not to call you a genius. That's rude. You Southern, you know better.
there's so much connotation on genius these days. Genius isn't.
Oh, I almost said something. Oh,
Genius don't mean the same thing it used to mean.
I had to pull it all the way back in.
Hmm.
Hmm. You're right. You're right. But you know why?
Because he called himself a genius.
Because stupid people call themselves genius.
That's right. That's
That's why. Um, Lauren is a genius, y'all. And I can say this because I've had the opportunity to work very closely with Lauren, and I've seen Lauren go into spaces and completely transform them. And it ain't no fluke on some of the hardest, most complex, most gripping topics around oppression. Lauren is an incredible theater maker, but Lauren is also a liberation maker.
Thank you.
You create a path and you uncover a path that people don't see until they experience you. So I'm gonna call you a genius, cause you a genius.
Listen, I did not come up here to be crying today. Okay.
So y'all, I first heard of Lauren when I started I Start by Talking received a contract, an offer to work with a theater company, and I was very, very conscious of the type of representation, the type of conversations, the type of impact that Start by Talking would include and be a part of in this assessment. This is an organizational assessment. This is a complete overhaul, and is an opportunity to not only um, do the work of that we do often with organizations, is taking a look at the systems and taking a look at the culture and the structures that happen off stage. We also had the opportunity to create room and space, and I think just overall engagement with what happens on stage and what anti-oppressive theater making can look like. That is something that I said, "Ooh, I can't mess this up." And I wanted women of color from the windows to the wall, baby. And so, and women of color theater makers is very important to me. And so, the first person that I reached out to was Simone Cottrell. I ride or die. Um, and SBT loves us some Simone, baby. And I first reached out to her and I asked her, do you know somebody? I was being facetious because I was talking about her. And she was like, well, I may have to go look and search. I'm like, friend, no friend. I'm talking, friend, come over here. Like that was the conversation. And then, because I have seen her work, she's amazing. She's been on the show. It also got to a point where I said, I need I need the expertise of a black woman theater maker who is grounded in a framework that is centered in black thought, black intellect, and liberation. And Simone said, I know of someone who is incredible. And I said, do you think she'll like us? Do you think she'll want to play with us? Cause she dope. Cause I saw your website and I was like, I don't know if we have enough swag for her.
No, oh my gosh, you have way more swag than I could ever have.
Please, no, no. Let me love on you, black woman. Okay. And I did. I was like, I don't know if we got enough swag for her, but we can try. And Lauren came in this thing, y'all, with a north wind that just blew us away. And I love working with you in these very tough spaces, um, with other women of color who all have eyes on liberation and who all bring our own brand of foolishness to the table. And our meetings are, I think they're just the stuff of legend.
Hmm.
We have decided that we are now a gang,
Yeah,
and that gang is called the Machete
the
Gang.
machetes. We
And we
chop
got
them
to get
down.
matching tattoos.
That's right.
That's all. That's what happened after a staff meeting.
And really, what I love is that, in a way, in every sense, we've become a support group for each other.
Absolutely.
Um, One of the things that I was thinking about while you were talking, actually, is one of the reasons I'm successful in navigating these facilitative spaces, especially with white folk, is because I know them so well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know them very, very well. I know them better
Mm-hmm.
than they know themselves. And
Because
what
you have to.
right, and in doing this work with you all and sharing this time in my life with you all, right, through our conversations and just checking in, what I am becoming more painfully aware of is how little I know about myself
Mm.
and how I best work, right? And how what I
Mm.
need to do to be well. I know very little about that. And
Mm-hmm.
that revelation, I think, has been something that you've been able to help coach me through in terms of thinking through what is it that I need as a Black woman, um, artist, business owner,
Mm-hmm.
all of those things. But that dichotomy between having spent a lifetime learning white folk to the
Right.
point where I'm able to anticipate and intuit
Come on.
their thoughts and makes me really good at facilitation. And yet I lack the skill set to facilitate my own necessary processes in some ways.
Right. So that right there is just a sliver of what we're gonna talk about today, y'all. Like, I don't know if you got chills, but this is what it's like talking to Lauren. And this conversation today is going to be based on the types of conversations that we often have when we are just, whether it's after a meeting. Let me set the tone. We don't have a meeting without a tarot read. I'm gonna just put it out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got to have some feel good space. We got to have some tarot readings. We do check ins. We create a space of safety and comfort. And we allow for whatever that needs to come up and come out. We don't censor people. We don't do the work of trying to make oppression. I think the word I'm looking for is just tenable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We don't do that. This is very much a validated space. You know, we work really hard together, but we give, I think we give and provide room for all aspects of all pieces of our humanity. Like you have to bring all of yourself to these meetings. Else we just really probably ain't gonna really fool with you too tough because you deserve it and you need it.
And that's
Right?
what we don't have enough of. There aren't many spaces, even the facilitative space,
Yeah.
right? Where I'm able, where my full humanness and humanity is honored.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why it feels so luxurious for us to be in those meetings. And that's why they're not even so much meetings in the sense of like, here's our agenda, here's the things we're going through, but it's like, let's embrace the the full spectrum of how we're doing today in this moment and things that are bothering us and things that are, challenging us in this moment. And that's why I've been able to even process through this understanding that I don't know a lot about me, and I
Mm,
wonder how many other, it makes me think about how many other Black women are afforded the privilege to think through um, basic needs all the way up to highest level of desire.
right.
Um, and we were talking about this before the now, but we were
Mm-hmm.
talking about how these systems and structures really that we're navigating really want to rob us of our humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're talking about Black woman leadership, which everyone that we're meeting with in our meetings, we're all Black. We're all not all Black women, but we're all women of color in leadership. But when we're
Mm-hmm.
specifically talking about Black woman leadership, I was just saying that tension that you feel is the fact that Black women are barely embraced as human, much less as leaders, right? So that acceptance of our inherent leadership capabilities is always a challenge for folks. And I'm talking about white identified folk and folk of color, because
Mm-hmm.
we are constantly being placed in buckets and asked to accept roles that have nothing to do with being a whole human person.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's showing up as a mammy, whether that's showing up as a mule, whether that's showing up as a breeder, none of which is showing up as person with real needs. That's why I think I don't want to mess up the sister's name, Trisha Hershey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Her work
And that
is
ministry.
her work is such a portal into even deeper revelation, right? Because rest is an essential need of people. I mean, I'm assuming there's other species that need rest as well, right? But that's definitely a need. It's a necessary thing for folks. And part of the dehumanization is denying us the ability to rest and enough agency to determine how that rest should, what it should look like and how it should show up and how often we have access to it.
Mm-hmm.
So if
Mm-hmm.
you get Black folk, specifically Black women specifically, to become adamant about a rest, developing and protecting a rest practice, then they can apply that same fierceness to rejecting every way that they're being asked to no longer be human or no longer have human needs. And Black, like right now, I feel like I don't know, some video game character. Like as soon as I see the request for me to mammy, I'm like, psh. As soon as I see the request for me to mule, I'm like, psh. Like
Black. Yes,
whatever
black
it
it
is
out.
I'm choosing not to be, I now can see the request on me for what it
Mm.
is, and I can say to it, I'm not a mammy, I'm not a mule, I'm not a breeder, I'm a person, I'm a human. You know?
So I just had to take a deep breath because we talk about this so much. So like I said, when we're like when we meet and even like our after meetings is probably like almost another hour because these are the conversations that come up. And very early on in our working relationship together, it was very clear that we were two black women from the South who had a very specific way upbringing dealing with the type of black southern feminist activism that doesn't show up in a lot of ways for people.
Mm-hmm.
And that to be raised as and to be raised under that for the purposes of leadership. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
people understand. I was raised for leadership.
Yes.
I was
Built.
I was that
Built
was
for it.
built for it,
Yes.
you know? And to have that in common, I think it was a natural relationship that came from that really became us being able to talk as colleagues, as friends about what it means to be black women leaders within our respective spaces and all of the things that we have to block, all of the ways that we have to carve out these spaces for ourselves. And one of the conversations that we talked about was this idea of the mammy, of the mule, of the breeder, and how that equates um, to Black woman leadership and the very limited roles that we have. And what it means to break those roles
That's right.
and the punishment that comes from that. So, can you talk a little bit about that, Lauren?
Well, I mean, so, and these are roles that show up as archetypes and for Black women throughout our culture and society, right? Throughout
Mhm.
media and in literature and everything. But and there's probably so many other ways that we are dehumanized, but these three main ways consist of the mammy in being expected to, not asked, but expected to shoulder the burdens of others, to solve problems, to be available at all times to take on and own the issues and problems of others.
Mhm.
The mule being someone who takes on the labor of others and is once again expected to do that, to hold it. And it's not just physical labor. We're also talking about emotional labor. We're also
Mhm.
talking about even in holding the responsibility for your community, right? And for activism in your community.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very specific ask on Black women to show up and be activated in a way that we're just expected to at a drop of a hat on behalf of all Black people, and specifically on behalf of Black men. So that's, we're also talking about that as a form of muling. And then breeder in terms of, obviously physical breeding of children, but also the breeding of ideas, generating of new ideas, right? And the caring and the nurturing and cultivation of innovation and process and strategy,
Mm-hmm.
um, without being asked, without consent, and there's really no way to violate the breeder. So,
Right.
there's no way for a breeder to say, for example, that they've been raped in any sense,
Right.
or to say no, because in and of our very makeup, there is this assumed willingness to provide in this way.
Absolutely. And as an anti-violence professional, I see the reverberations of that
Mm-hmm.
every day.
And they're very much rooted to our role uh as specifically as Black women, due to the legacy of chattel slavery,
Mm-hmm.
right? And essentially, when you take a look historically, Black women in so many ways quite literally created this place.
Mm-hmm.
Our bodies and our ability to give birth was a currency.
Right.
It was a currency. It was very much
Absolutely.
literally a currency, something that could be left behind in a will, something that could resolve debt. And so at the root is just this commodifying of who we are
Yeah.
and what we have to offer.
And when we look at where that leaves Black women in leadership roles now, when we look at we can talk about what that looks like within a system, and we can talk about what it looks like out here on the outside of a lot of systems that we don't have to necessarily navigate as closely before.
Right. And
Right?
navigate them in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very different ways, very different ways. And I think that when we're talking about in systems, right, I think that this is a conversation that we hear often when we talk about labor. I think when we talk about health, when we talk about humanity, right, these are conversations. I think about higher ed, of course, because that's where I came from. And I think about how many Black women leadership lunches, brunches, suppers, breakfast, child, like that I have gone to where they are basically saying, you gotta live for yourself. You have to live for yourself. Everybody gone now. We gotta go because we gotta go back to work. Like, but what, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but something is it's a very different it shows up very differently now as an entrepreneur, someone who owns their business, right? And that was the conversation with you that I so enjoyed because it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
It's still there. And in a lot of ways it still comes from this larger scope of this whiteness that surrounds this idea of what success means, um, what it means to work collaboratively with other people. But I think that there's also something very special. There's a very special element that happens in Black women leadership, entrepreneurship.
Well,
Um,
the big aha moment for me was in institution, right? It's something that's happening to you,
mhm,
and you're responding to this thing happening to you. And
right.
in my moment of like, oh my God, I realized how much of it I have internalized.
Mm,
Right? And it's not necessarily, the powers that be, right? It's how much am I willing and believe is a part of my leadership branding to mule. And this is what you were talking to me about, right?
Mm-hmm.
When do you stop being the worker and when do you become the visionary?
Yeah.
And for me, those things were so intertwined.
Mm.
And then also, depending on what sector you're in, whether you're in like private, or whether you're working within the nonprofit industrial complex, I'm kind of in the middle. My company is for social good, but not we're for profit for social good organization. But we serve a very real purpose in community. And
Right.
so that's a whole nother conversation when it comes to muling, right? When it's determining, I think one of the things you said to me that I'm just going to share with one of my tarot was, I'm the water, not the boat. And how much of this, or the ship, not the boat, the ship, but how much
Mm-hmm.
of this is about being in a space that very few people in my community are in, and it being my job to put these people on my back and walk them from point A to point B. And that is
That's
what
right.
leading looks like.
Yes. And not only is that's what it looks like, or that's what we taught it looks like, is also where we root our success in, like our personal, like, yes, girl, yes, sis, you better, Um, I don't want to better. I don't want to. Don't you better me on this stuff right here, because I, as somebody who, this is what I hear all the time, especially from folks who used to work with me when I worked in higher ed. Um, I hear all the time, like, I don't understand how you do all that you do. I don't understand how you get this done. Um, every time I look up, you're doing something new, like you're adding something to your business, or um, every time I look up, like you are, like I can't go into Instagram and not see you, right? Or you always pop up, or you know, like, and saying that specifically as a yes, queen, I'm like, first of all, y'all should have been telling me when I first started this business to go sit my ass down, okay? Because I was
Right.
tired.
Right.
I was so
It's
tired.
unlearning. It's a complete unlearning. And in reclaiming humanity for ourselves, there's also this piece of accept that there are gonna be feelings that come up of you're not being successful and you're failing.
All the time.
And I think that in some ways it's funny, right? And in other ways it's tragically sad
Horrible.
that Black women, when we begin to reclaim the fact that we are indeed human beings with needs, that simultaneously we also have feelings of failure.
Because that's why we leave. Why we leave these systems, like you treat me like a robot. You treat me like a mammoth, right? I
We have
have,
started to believe we are robots.
right,
We're operating, and we have not taken in consideration how much we actually believe ourselves to be robots.
right,
And and
right.
and and while I understand the sentiment and I appreciate the sentiment of Black Girl Magic, it also comes with mythical thinking that also can work against us if we're not understanding that the magic is in works best when we
Hmm.
are respecting and honoring ourselves as human beings. We have
Absolutely.
even seen the tip of the iceberg of Black woman magic. We've seen what we can do exhausted. We've seen what we can do abused. We've seen what we can do oppressed.
Yep.
We haven't even seen our magic.
Black excellence either. Like I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of black excellence, because I'm like, child, look, can when y'all have a black mediocre day, just call me, because I don't know that, right? You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I want to experience. I want to experience a life where I don't have to be excellent.
And that's what was so powerful about the sister. She's not Black, on Broadway in 1776 just recently coming
Yes.
out and saying, I'm giving y'all 75%, because you need to understand, and this conversations are important. And I know it was really
Mm-hmm.
like everyone was like, oh my gosh, mixed feelings about saying this aloud. But that's the only way we're going to get to this realization that on your best day, our 75% has
Come
always
on.
been your 200.
Come on.
Okay? That's what people need to understand, is that we are doing all of these things while navigating these systems of oppression. We've never been given what we need to actually shine,
Right.
and we're starting to now take it.
Right.
We're no longer going to wait to begin. We're going to take it and claim it for ourselves.
And name it.
And it's going to benefit everybody, unfortunately. That's how it works, you know? But but what I'm saying is, and that has always been the threat. That has always been the threat. I was talking to, I think I was talking to y'all when I was saying how people are always saying, 400 years is such a long journey, past slavery, and how we're not moving fast enough. And I agree that, this is a long journey.
Yeah.
However, given the amount of oppression and marginalization, we are amazing as Black people
Amazing.
to have freed ourselves. And we very much have freed ourselves, right?
Over and over again.
Over and over again. They didn't even want us to know how to read.
Come on.
They were like, if they know how to read, it's over for us. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? They made it illegal. They went and got us because they knew, they heard about us.
And that's the thing, right? Like, what people, and I, in my coaching, I tell people all the time, like, I think it's really important for folks to know that these folks had relationships. These are not strangers who said, oh, look at those people there. No, these were trading partners. Long established history of relationship, understanding the way that their communities work, the way culture moves throughout these particular groups of people, and being able to see the best of the best of the best. I, I read something, and if I can find it, I'll send it to you and I'll post it to notes, where this woman, I can't remember where she went, what country on the continent she went back to, but she had the opportunity to sit with some elders, and she asked them what the impact of the Atlantic slave trade did for their particular group and tribe of people. And one of the elders said they took our best. They strategically took our best because so that we would be unable to come get you.
Mm.
They strategically took our strongest, our smartest, our brightest. And I think people need to understand how long you have to be in relationship with somebody for them to be able to do that. They said they strategically took our best, our brightest, our swiftest, our strongest, our smartest.
And these are the things, right now I'm doing a deep dive study into the act and practice of reclamation. And these
Mm,
are the things that we need to be reclaiming. These are the narratives we need to be reclaiming that are going to give us the path and the blueprint for how to move forward, right? And like even this thing around the Underground Railroad. I was watching a documentary on My Everything, Harriet Tubman, and they were
mm,
talking about, how in schools you're taught that Quakers ran the Underground Railroad.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
the majority of the conductors on the railroad were other black people
mm-hmm.
helping, risking everything to free other black people in this country. We freed ourselves. We
Over and
freed
over.
ourselves over and over again, and that needs to be understood. You
Right.
know, but all of this wraps into just this true understanding of the types of reclamation that have to happen for me as a Black woman. And so every time that I say no to being a mammy, every time I say, no, I'm not going to mute, and I'm saying it more so to myself than I'm even
Right.
saying it to the person or the ask or whatever, right? I'm reminding
Right.
myself I'm not a mammy, I'm not a mule, I'm not a breeder, because I actually need to remind myself because I've internalized these things. Then it opens and begs the question, well, what am I? Right? And how does my humanity need to be honored and show up? What do
Mm-hmm.
I actually need? Right? But and those are still ongoing interrogations for myself. But just the act of saying no. And as an entrepreneur, I feel like the ways in which that can happen, I can be very creative, more so than I think being in a within an institution, right? So my
Right.
no is very creative in the ways that I say no, and then also the responses to my no is something that will. I mean, I tell every I used well technically I'm still doing coaching, but I from time to time I coach specifically Black women in historic leadership positions within
Mm-hmm.
predominantly white arts institutions. And one of the things that we do early on is I ask them to have a week of no to anything that they don't want to do, and
Mm-hmm.
to take note the reactions from others and the reactions in their bodies, right? And it's always an amazing and fascinating learning experience. First of all, to see the outrage, just the pure outrage. And this could be something small
Absolutely.
to something bigger.
Oh, I've been there. I've been there. Cause see, my no's are not creative.
You just like, no.
I'm a hit, and I may hit you with a no. You see what I'm saying? I may take it all the way back to Mississippi and hit you with a no, and it's not creative at all. But the backlash,
Whew,
the wrath.
the confusion.
Come on, come on.
And then, especially when, it's, well, with everybody, not even especially with white folk, with anyone who is making the ask, I really right now feel like it's important for me to be very specific as to why I'm not doing this thing.
Mhm.
Because you are asking me to take on more labor than I should be
Mhm.
asked to do. And this labor will not allow me to honor my own rest practices, right?
Come on.
Because if I take the time to birth this idea, right, then I should have some sense of ownership over the outcome, right? That part is where I think community, and then especially white identified folk, especially from a historical point of view, are then invited. I give them that invitation to then become accountable,
Mhm.
right? Because there's a piece of this that I'm accountable to,
Mhm.
which is the allowing of the continued dehumanization of me, right? But then there's also a piece that rests in community, that rests with the person making the ask. And they're accountable to the history of Black women in this country and understanding that and having an analysis of that. And they're accountable to managing their own expectations and emotions
Mhm.
and not asking me to do all of that for them.
Whew.
And accountability is the best gift you can give someone. It's the most liberating gift you can give someone.
It's beautiful,
To say,
and
yeah,
it's beautiful, and I don't think people understand how much it is rooted in love.
yes, I am giving you, or I am allowing you to be responsible for your own actions. And I want to be responsible for my own actions.
And I have the expectation of you because I think more of you.
Yep.
Yeah. Oof. Lauren, I already know you're going to have to come back. This is a question that I have for you.
Mm-hmm.
What does come get your white people mean to you in your work?
Come get
For
your.
other white people.
Wait, what? To other
For
white people?
other white people. What is the best case scenario?
come get your white people means to me accountability.
Mm-hmm.
It means being responsible collectively when sharing space with other white identified folk
Mm-hmm.
for the ways, for their actions, to encourage and to promote that you all are responsible for your actions, and to hold each other accountable to that in real ways, in real time, in whatever way is necessary, so that it does
Mm-hmm.
not harm global majority folks, so that
Come on.
their actions cannot no longer harm global majority folks. If that means putting your body on the line, if that means putting your standing on the line, it's doing whatever is necessary and saying no to perpetuating harm.
Yeah.
Come
That's
get them.
beautiful.
Come get them.
Baby, look, I'm going to tell you this. The way that my mama used to do whenever we would have a sleepover. Y'all ready? Come get y'all kids. I had their jackets on. They'll be at the end of the road waiting on. That's how. Come get them. Come on. Come get them, y'all.
They
Come get your
ready.
people. They ready. I done fed them breakfast. They ready. Come get them. They should be ready and good for a nap, baby. Come get them.
Oh my gosh.
Lauren, how can people keep up with you?
People can keep up with me by visiting No Dream Deferred's website, www.nodreamdeferrednola.com. They can keep up with me. How else can they keep up with me? On
Are you on social media?
I am on social media. I am on Instagram. I am somebody's mother on Instagram. Also, No Dream Deferred is on social media at NDD NOLA. We are next year producing our first ever We Will Dream New Works Festival.
Mm,
It will be 3 months of 3 brand new plays written by Black Southern playwrights running in Rep in New Orleans, Louisiana. And there'll be so many other offerings as well. Convenings, gatherings, panel discussions, and special performances. I'm just gonna give a big open invitation. Make your way to New Orleans, to Bubancha,
mm.
anytime between March 19th and Juneteenth, 2023, and we will be there and we will show you all of the Southern New Orleans hospitality that you are looking for.
I'm coming.
You got to be there.
I gotta be.
And practice no. Black women listening, other women of color listening, try it this week. See what happens. Prepare your mind, prepare your heart and body and spirit for what's about to happen, but practice
And then
no.
keep track of what it does. Keep track of what your body does when you say no.
That's right.
It's gonna feel real foreign.
That's
But
right.
boy, once you get used to it, you do get creative when you get
That's what I'm
used to
saying. It
it.
gets fun. It gets fun.
You go from no, I don't think so. No. That doesn't seem to fit in with the overall trajectory of my day. Like you can
Yeah. Why would you even ask me that?
oh, I like that one. I'm gonna put that one in my back
What look
pocket.
like a mule?
mm, I'm
Try it.
with it.
Try
I'm with it.
it.
Friend, it has been wonderful. Thank you so much for giving us your time. And I will see you soon this week. But
Okay.
for other folks, y'all have a wonderful week and catch us next week. We'll be back.
Thank you.
All right, good people. Another episode down, another opportunity for you to dig into the stuff that weighs you down, keeps you stuck, and blocks your path to liberation. I hope this week finds you in deep reflection and seeking additional learning tools. If you don't already, follow us at Start By Talking, one word, on Insta, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Subscribe to our email list at sbtinfo@oneswan.com or visit our website at startbytalking.mykajabi.com. Remember, we'll create the space if you'll create the change. We'll see y'all next time. Take care.